Creative Babble.
Hey guys, it's me, Javier. This is part 4 of the prank call series. If you just discovered the show, I suggest you start with part 1. And also, if you're listening with little ones, this might not be the episode for them. In fact, this episode describes some sexual violence that's not suitable for everyone, so if that makes you uncomfortable or that's not your thing, you might want to skip this one. Okay, let's start the show. A PrankNet caller calls a KFC restaurant in Manchester, New Hampshire.
Hello? Now, here at corporate, we've been having a small default with the Ansol fire suppression systems in our store on location. And I'm phoning from corporate head office to run a very quick spot test on your Ansol fire support system and suppression system. Okay.
The caller is posing as a manager from the corporate office.
Now we have taken your system offline from our computer. And what we need for you to do now, madam, is to pull to Ansol fire suppression system to reset the system. Therefore, this will prevent any unwanted situations from occurring.
He says they're doing a routine test on the fire suppression system.
I've got to talk to my boss before I do that.
The employee is caught off guard and says that she needs to talk with her boss.
Okay, so my authority does override any rights that your manager may or may not give at this moment in time. Like I said, your system, you are actually working right now illegally because you have no fire suppression system in the kitchen. Okay, we have taken your system offline, which means you are currently working in the building with no Ansol fire suppression system. This is illegal. So what we need for you to do right now is go to the Ansol fire suppression system, pull the lever to reset it.
The restaurant manager pulls the ring.
Oh, crap. Watch out.
What's happening, man? Man, what's happening?
Coming out of my ceiling.
A liquid mist shoots out from under the grill vent and covers the employee. A restaurant fire suppression system uses a wet, fine mist to quickly extinguish grease fires. It's a non-toxic chemical, completely harmless. But the employee doesn't know that. All they know is that they're covered in this stuff. Dex, the leader of the notorious PrankNet group, jumps on the call.
Okay, ma'am, this store is now deemed unsafe because that was not supposed to happen. Okay, now you need to declare this store unsafe right now. According to KFC manual from the company, you need to make a loud vocal announcement that this store is unsafe.
And just that we're closing for the day?
Yes, no, you need to say, everybody out, we're closing right now.
You need to declare the store unsafe.
We have to close our store. We just had our Ansel system go off and we have to clean everything up before we can serve anybody. Alright?
Yeah, louder. You have to say it louder, ma'am.
Louder?
Louder, ma'am, please, louder.
I'm sorry, we have to close our store. I need everybody to exit.
Okay, you need to make a loud vocal announcement that I hereby declare this store unsafe, and we are said witnesses of the statement.
I hereby declare this store unsafe.
Now that the customers have left the restaurant, Dex urges the employees to leave the building.
Now what you need to do is you need to evacuate the store, and you need to get outside the store immediately. Now, do you have a cell phone, Faye?
We do. Yes.
Okay, now is it your cell phone or whose cell phone is it?
You can have mine if you want.
Okay, now what I need is your cell phone number so that I can contact you as soon as you get outside the store, and then we're also going to get the district manager on the line, and we have a hazmat cleaning crew that we're sending right now. They're going to get down there and they're going to clean the store, and they're going to give you and Sonia a chemical wash, which is going to rid your body of all the chemicals that's on your clothes and on your body.
Yep.
And if that doesn't happen soon, then you could potentially die. So we need you to get outside the store right now, and you need to give me your cell phone number right now.
Okay, it's...
Dex reminds them that the toxic chemical is all over their clothes. They need to undress, and they need to do it fast. But the employees hesitate.
Now, is your shirt off?
My shirt is off, yes.
Are your pants off?
Hold on.
Please, Faye.
Hello?
Hello, Sonia.
Yeah.
Sonia, this is a very serious situation. Have you removed your shirt?
Yep, I'm doing it right now.
Okay, now as I instructed Faye, she can't get in her car right now because what's going to happen is it's going to get onto her seat, the car seat, and everything else, and then it's going to be a huge problem because when the hazmat crew arrives, they're going to give you a chemical wash and it's going to decontaminate you. So if you put on new clothes right now, it's just going to reinfect those clothes.
Okay.
And so that's why, and we can only have the hazmat crew come down there once. It's not like every day we can have them come down there. So that's why I'm saying you need to remove your shirt right now. Did you remove it?
Yep.
Now, I understand this is very uncomfortable for you, but you're going to have to remove your pants too because it got on your pants, it got on all your clothes, and it's going to start to eat through. It's a slow process that we're trying to slow down right now.
It's so cold out here.
I understand. Just remain calm. Now, you're going to have to explain to Faye as well. Now, Faye has to remove her pants.
Yep, she did.
Okay, now... Okay, so your shirt is off, your undershirt is off, your pants are off. Now, Sonia, are you wearing any sort of undergarment like a bra?
Yeah.
Okay, now again, this is going to be only for a short while, most likely 5 minutes tops. You're going to have to remove that bra, Sonia.
Are you kidding me?
They want to go inside their cars for privacy, but Dex won't allow it. Remember, it's February in New Hampshire. It's a brisk 36 degrees outside. And after a few minutes of convincing them, Dex manages to get both of them completely naked in the cold.
She's going to start to get rashes soon if she doesn't take action. Now, have you ever been stung by a jellyfish?
No.
But do you know what the protocol is when you're stung by a jellyfish?
No.
Okay. Now, when you're stung by a jellyfish, what happens is you have to, the jellyfish in the water, in the ocean, in the sea, you have to urinate on the part where you were stung, and this is a very similar thing. Now, it was on her hands, correct, or arms?
Yep.
Okay, now ask her if she's able to pee on her arm. I understand.
Are you able to urinate on your arms? On your arms, wherever that's
because the urine contains a concentration of acid that's going to dissolve and deactivate the toxin that's on her arm.
Yeah.
That's what happens. Now, I just spoke with a member of the hazmat crew, and they've informed me that because it got on your hands and your arms, it's going to start to create a rash and eat out your skin unless you slow the process down. That's why you need to urinate on your arm right now. Is there any way you can do that, or maybe if you have to ask Sonia to do it?
I can try. I can try.
I need you to just try right now. Okay, I'm going to be quiet. Just go ahead and try.
Okay. I got a little bit.
Okay, now, what you're going to have to do is ask Sonia. Tell Sonia to come over there, and you're going to have to get her to do it. Right now. Tell her that it's important. Stay on the phone.
On me? All right, she's going to do that. We got to put the phone down.
Okay, is she gonna urinate on you first?
All right. Oh, she's going to actually pee in a cup, and then I'm going to pour it on me.
Okay, that may not work because the cup is going to take out the concentration. When you let it sit around in a cup, then the acid concentration goes down by percentage, and then it's not effective. It has to come right out, like, as soon as it comes out, it has to hit contact on your skin. That's why I'm saying just put your arm out under her vagina right now. And just let it run down on your arm.
All right, hold on.
Eventually, Dex convinces these poor girls to urinate on each other while naked in the parking lot outside the KFC restaurant. Passerbys noticed that something was really, really wrong and called 911. When the cops arrived at the KFC, they witnessed the entire thing. Can you imagine the confusion? Today we're going to talk with one of the architects of the prank that you just listened to. Her name is Jeri Batsford. She helped plot this cruel scheme down to the very last detail. And let me tell you, there was a lot of planning that went into this sick joke. I'm Javier Leiva, and this is Pretend. Stories about real people pretending to be someone else. Today's episode is supported by a brand new podcast from Wondery and the Los Angeles Times called Detective Trapp. I don't know about you, but I personally love true crime podcasts with real law enforcement professionals who do things a little differently. This story is about a veteran detective named Julissa Trapp. She's not your typical cop. In fact, I bet her style is guided more by her gut than anything she's ever learned at the academy. The podcast named after her, Detective Trapp, takes a look back at the case which defined her career. It's the story of 3 women who disappeared in Santa Ana, California, without a trace. Hear how this unconventional detective brought justice her own way. Subscribe to Detective Trapp on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening to right now. You can also find the link in the episode notes. This little podcast hobby of mine is a lot of fun, but it can be stressful at times. At night, I find myself grinding my teeth or just waking up with my mind racing. I found something that finally helped. Hemp Fusion. Hemp Fusion is natural and can help you sleep better and get more energy. Hemp Fusion is available online and at natural product retailers near you. Pretend listeners can get 20% off plus free shipping off your first order when you use promo code PRETEND. I wasn't sure what to expect when I called Jeri Batsford. After all, she was part of PrankNet.
So, what all did you buy?
Excuse me?
What all did you fucking buy?
Who are you? I don't remember giving you my number.
Hey, Jeri, are you there?
Yeah.
All right, cool. We are recording. Let's just start at the beginning. Introduce yourself. Tell me who you are.
My name is Jeri, and my last name is Batsford. That's my real name. I grew up in Alabama. I moved to Tennessee.
How did this all start? How did PrankNet begin? I'll have Jeri explain.
Started out with normal pranks, pranking each other, laughing, making fun of each other, and kind of being a community of, prankers. And then it escalated into more diabolical stuff. They all kind of started out like that, innocent and mostly funny.
You know, the kind of pranks that you hear on Prank Yankers or Jerky Boys. But then after a while, the jokes got old. They had to step it up.
At that point, it became about if you could make the person cry or become angry or cuss you and the angrier the person got or the more emotionally charged they were, the more epic the prank was. And that was the word that they used, epic. That's epic. That's epic. That's epic. So once something is the most epic, you got to top it, right? To keep your followers and keep those people coming in and keep those people paying those dues.
This wasn't just a community of punks. It was a show for the world to see, produced by a masterful performer.
Most of it was engineered by just pretty much one person.
Dex was the puppeteer.
He maneuvered a lot of us like we were puppets.
So this is not just a bunch of nerds hanging out. This is like a serious business with some serious cash, right?
Well, I know that there were other people in other countries that were wiring $6,000 and $10,000 at a time. I was responsible for paying my portion of my dues.
And how much was that?
$600 every 3 times a year, $1,800 a year.
Jeri says that the money would go to pay for dedicated servers and things like that. And how many members would you say were on at any given time?
Most nights there were at least 200. At least 200 people on there.
$800 times 200 was so $360,000 a year Dex was pulling in. That's a lot of money for servers. But something tells me that the money was paying for more than just servers.
I think his house burnt down at some time. I can't remember, but he was homeless, and everybody in the group gave him money. And I'm talking a lot of money. We grew. I know that we paid his rent for a year.
The way Jeri explains it, PrankNet wasn't always so cruel. The joke started off small and harmless. Then the next one got a little meaner. And then they had to one-up that one. And it snowballed from there.
It started out with bedbug pranks. And they didn't make the news. Actually, those were my pranks, but they didn't make the news because we weren't destroying property. It's like a magician, you know, when they do a trick. That's great, but you can't do that same trick next year. You got to do a better trick, and a better one, and a better one.
This is very typical with con artists. Often, con artists don't begin with the intention to harm someone. It starts off small, then things start spinning out of control. They just get sucked into this vortex and they don't know how to stop it. And rarely do con men like Dex go at it alone. They typically sucker others to go along with them. And I can't speak for the other members of PrankNet, but it seems to me that kids like Jeri just wanted to be part of a group, a family, a community.
I swear, it felt like I was in love. I was so lost myself that I would have stuck my head in a paint shaker if it made somebody care about me.
Very cult-like, right? At this point in the timeline, PrankNet hasn't started the phone calls that led to property destruction. That part comes next. But eventually, his followers will be so numb to all this that the people who they're hurting don't even seem real to them anymore.
They did a prank that they set the entire alarm system off in the hotel, and then they told them that the alarm system was in the doors and to break the door. And so they broke one door but couldn't get the other door. And you can hear the panic in the background of the people. And then somebody said, well, I'll just run my car through it. And they did. They ran their car through the damn hotel door. And I'll tell you what, I've never, and I thought to me, and I was like, what is wrong with people that they're doing this? I mean, why? I mean, but you know what it was? It's panic. It's panic. So if you one of the things that if you'll listen to the people, not to Dex or the people that are talking, if you'll listen to the people on the recordings, you can hear the panic. And if you could have heard what was in the rooms and the things that were said in the chat, it was, I don't know, it was like a bunch of little monsters. We were all feeding off of that panic. They were like, you know, oh, they're shitting themselves, oh, this or that, you know, and not a single one of us cared about whether we were causing somebody a heart attack or anything.
Jeri says that she regrets what she did now, but back then, it was just all part of the fun. Let's go back to the KFC prank in Manchester, New Hampshire. I listened to hours of PrankNet calls, and I found this one to be the most disturbing one of all. Jeri played a big role in the design of this prank. I'm going to have her walk you through it, but in order to understand how they came up with this idea, you need to know a little bit about Jeri Batsford's history. You see, Jeri was in the Navy and was discharged due to a disability.
One of the things that I did when I was in the military was I checked the ANSEL system.
Like we explained earlier, an ANSEL system is a specific brand of a fire suppression system that fits inside of a grill hood. If it senses a grease fire, it sprays out a non-toxic mist over the flames and smothers it. Looking back, it makes perfect sense. How else would a punk like Dex, who lives in his mama's house, know how an ANSEL system works? I wouldn't know how one works. But he knew exactly which ring to pull. And that's because he was taking copious amounts of notes.
I actually told him how you set the ANSEL system off and you reset it and everything. I guess he took notes.
They planned it all out.
We'd have 20 people in the call, and we'd talk about how it would go or how they would lead out, and literally just kind of sketch it out like you might do if you were doing, a sketch, like a skit. And so he said, well, we'll just pretend to be some company. Actually, he looked that up to see who authorized those and checked them and everything. He did it several times. I mean, I know at least 5 or 6 times. Some of them would scream and run out the door, and they would drop the phone, and that would be the end of the call. The only reason that But that prank made the news was because the guy or the girl that Dex was talking to stayed on the phone with him.
Eventually, the joke started getting old and Jeri wasn't laughing anymore. She remembers talking to a hotel guest during one hotel prank call.
I told them that there was a gas leak and that they had to get all of the electronic equipment out of their room. The guy's like, well, if I open the door, it's going to let the gas in. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, why am I doing this? And so then Dex was like, just tell him to throw it out the window. And so I did. I told him to throw it out the window. And he threw the TV out the window. And you can hear the horror in his voice because somebody's like, but you can hear in the background that there was like, he's like, there's a gas leak. I told him, you've been pranked by PrankNet. And then the guy turns around and you can hear the guy in the back and he's like, oh my God. And you could just hear the devastation in his voice, and that was the last one I did.
Well, that's a pretty defining turning point. I could just imagine you in this last prank call, you're waiting for the punchline. Like the punchline is like, boom, you're on PrankNet. This is the big laugh.
Yeah, you're on PrankNet. You just been pranked in front of 2,500 people. How do you feel? We did that. That's exactly what we said.
You're like, you're feeling the devastation in this guy's voice, and you felt like this is it. It's time, right?
Well, I don't know if I felt like this is it. I felt like, oh my God, I'm a horrible. I actually felt it's really weird. It's still, I think I'm such an ass for being that way. When I heard him being devastated, I felt bad for myself for doing that. I felt bad that it happened, but I immediately recognized what I had done. You know what I'm saying? And I was scared for myself, and I was like, oh shit, we're in fucking trouble. Or I'm in trouble. And then I realized, I was like, holy shit, I'm using my real name. Oh, fuck. Once the Ansel system prank started, I started having issues with everybody. I mean, I would say, we don't need to be throwing TVs out the window. That's not who we are. We don't need that. We can be somebody. We can be a real show. And there were, like I said, there were a lot of people that wanted vengeance on businesses, on people.
You're not causing the personal financial damage. You're causing a lot of financial damage to a big corporation. Did you feel...
I'm causing the chaos that causes the damage.
Right, exactly. You're causing the chaos is causing the damage. So you're already, in what you're saying, you've already removed yourself from that responsibility a little bit by saying, I didn't cause the damage, I caused the chaos, right? But then at the same time, I guess what I was saying is, you're not even causing financial damage to that person. You're causing financial damage to a big corporation. Did that make you feel like it was less bad? I'm just trying to
It's straight on. That's exactly how I felt. I tried to justify it because I wasn't hurting the person. I was hurting a business.
But what about now? How do you feel about this, years later?
Well, I feel horrible. I can't even say I'm sorry. There's no sorry or an excuse or anything that makes up for that. There's nothing I can say or do that will cover it. I can't be sorry enough. I read somewhere that, people, that they were so scared that it caused them anxiety and stuff like that, and that people have had to go to, therapy. Sometimes I don't sleep well. Matter of fact, I don't sleep well at all. And I think that when I go to heaven, I got a shit ton to answer for. Instead of trying to hurt other people and, or cause chaos through, in strangers, I try to help strangers. I'm notorious where I live at for helping somebody with gas or getting a ride somewhere. All I can say is that I'm sorry.
Fellas, when was the last time you treated yourself to a nice pair of underwear? I mean, seriously, my entire life I've been wearing the cheap underwear from big box stores. And boy, have I been missing out. I discovered Mack Weldon Basics for men, and there's no going back. They are super comfortable and made out of insanely soft material. It's also made with silver, so it's naturally antimicrobial and eliminates odors, unlike the cheap underwear you've been getting at the store. And it's more than just underwear. I bought undershirts and the best sweatpants ever. I'm pretty much spoiled. Shopping online was super easy too. If you don't like what you ordered, you can just keep it and they will still refund you. No questions asked. Mack Weldon will be the most comfortable underwear, socks, shirts, undershirts, hoodies, and sweatpants that you'll ever wear. For 20% off your first order, visit MackWeldon.com. That's MACK Weldon.com and enter promo code PRETEND. There was one prank that got in her head. It was a prank call made to a Holiday Inn in Conway, Arkansas. The front desk clerk and a hotel guest smashed the windows and set off sprinkler systems to the entire hotel. The entire hotel had to be evacuated. It was pure mayhem. And when the prank call was over, Jeri wasn't laughing. She was scared. In fact, she started thinking, what if police connect this to me? After all, she wasn't even using a pseudonym. Everyone at PrankNet knew her by her real name.
Actually, I took my computer and I took it apart and I took all the pieces and I buried them. I thought I was covering my ass. And so that night, I was like, you're never going to sleep again unless you admit to it.
So the next morning, she called the authorities. She came clean. She didn't just come clean. She had proof that PrankNet was an organization with fees and dues, possibly even involved in money laundering.
I had a lot of receipts from other people that had sent in money, and so I started and I showed them the receipts where all that money was being transferred.
As you can imagine, deflecting from a group like PrankNet has its cost. Jeri began receiving harassing phone calls at home.
I quit answering their phone calls at home. They started calling me at work. And I lost a very, very good job. A very good job.
What were these phone calls like?
I worked for a grocery store as a retail manager, and they would call and they would report me for stuff. And, you know, sometimes they would report me for saying something to a store patron, and I wouldn't even be at work. My boss was like, well, you know, one more call and you're going to lose your job. And sure enough, one more call happened. I lost my job. And then I went to another place, and I guess it was about 6 months, and they found me there. I get phone calls from people in the middle of the morning, and people are like, why don't you change your phone number? Because then I'm not going to run from it. I'm not. I did that. I am ashamed of it, and I'm not going to change my phone number. I'm not going to be bullied by these people. They're not going to do what I helped them do to other people to me. People have called me an online terrorist, and I agree with them. I did do it to cause terror and destruction. I mean, it made me feel better. And the chaos that I caused made me feel better. And it's horrible, but that's exactly the truth. And if I lie about it, then I'm no better than I was when I began.
I see the picture in my head of the KFC girls, you know, in Manchester, wrapped around a blanket sitting on the ambulance, you know, after they realized what happened to them. And, you know, and I can imagine that you probably picture that in your head a lot.
I do remember those girls and the photographs of them sitting on the back of the ambulance. And I remember the things that were said on the phone calls about, you know, how, you know, that we could tell that they were scared, and you could hear them screaming. I've been the butt of a prank. Not like that, not anything like that, but I've been the butt of a minor prank, you know. And I know how it made me feel in the instant that I found out it was a prank. And, you know, and there's that, oh, my God, really? And then, But for those people, it was, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. Is this really happening? Is this really happening? And it went on for hours. And it didn't stop. And we did that to them. All of us. We all did it. I am totally guilty of what I did. I did those things. I did. I'm sorry. But you know what? That don't change it. Being sorry don't help. And there are some things you can come back from, and there are things that you cannot. And even though I don't do those things anymore, it follows me everywhere I go. And it always will.
We have one more prank episode. I'm going to save it for after the new year, but the next episode is Pretend's very first Christmas episode. It's about a man who was playing Santa Claus, but was also a con artist. Yeah, you don't want to miss that one. Also, there was more to my interview with Jeri Batsford. In fact, we started looking for decks. You could hear more of our conversation on Patreon. Just go to pretendradio.org and click the donate button. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. We'll talk next time. Remember, Santa Claus meets con artist. It's called The Santa Claus Man. Talk to you soon.
Hello everyone. Let me tell you about the Apple for the Teacher podcast. I'm Anna Thomas, a teacher and your host. So you're probably thinking it's about reading, writing and arithmetic, right? Well, think again. It's a fresh take on true crime, where you wouldn't expect to find true crime. In schools. Yes, schools. You will hear tragic stories about murder, abduction, school bus hijack, student disappearance, suicide, kidnap and ransom, a school camp tragedy, the list goes on. So if you're looking for something a little different in the true crime genre, then Apple for the Teacher is for you. So join me as I present the bad apples. But until then, remember to be a good apple.
Creative